Hello everyone, welcome back to the MERN Stack Laboratory series. In the previous experiment, we learned how to perform CRUD operations on the file system using Node.js. In this experiment, we will learn how a web page communicates with the Node.js server using AJAX. We'll create a simple application where the user enters the fruit name and price on the client side. The data will then be sent to the Node.js server without refreshing the web page. Along the way, we'll also understand the concepts of AJAX, fetch API, get and post request, JSON and express middleware. So let's get started. Before looking at the code, let's understand how communication happens between a client and a server. Whenever we open a website, the browser acts as a client, our Node.js application acts as a server. The client sends a request to the server processes that request and sends a response back to the client. Earlier, whenever we submitted a form, the entire web page used to refresh. Nowadays, websites like Gmail, Instagram, Facebook and YouTube sends data without refreshing the page. This is possible because of AJAX. So what actually AJAX is? AJAX stands for Asynchronous JavaScript and XML. Although the name contains XML, modern web applications mostly use JSON to exchange data. AJAX allows the browser to communicate with the server in the background without refreshing the web page. This provides a faster and smoother user experience. To implement AJAX, modern JavaScript uses the fetch API. The fetch API is a JavaScript function that sends HTTP requests to the server and receives responses asynchronously. Instead of reloading the page, only the required data is exchanged between the client and the server. Now let's understand the program step by step. The first line imports the Express.js framework. Express helps us create web servers and define route. Then the second line, this creates an Express application object. We'll use this object to create routes and start the server. This is a middleware. Whenever the client sends JSON data, Express converts that JSON into a JavaScript object. After conversion, the data becomes available inside. Without this middleware, request.body will be undefined. Now let's understand our first route, app.get. This is get route. Whenever the browser opens HTTP localhost 3000, this function executes. Notice that we are directly sending HTML using a response.send. Instead of sending the HTML, instead of creating another HTML file, what we are doing is we are sending the HTML as a server response. Inside HTML, we have a simple HTML page. It contains one input field for the fruit name, another input field for the price, a send button, and a paragraph used to display the server response. Now look carefully at this line. When the user clicks the button, the fetch API is executed. This is where AJAX communication begins. Now let's understand the fetch function. This sends a request to the add route. Since we are sending data to the server, we use the post method. Get is generally used to retrieve data, while post is used to send the data. Headers, content type, application JSON. This tells the server that the client is sending JSON data. Now look at this line. Here f.value contains the fruit name entered by the user, p.value contains the price, and JSON.stringify converts JavaScript objects into a JSON string before sending it to the server. For example, if the user enters Apple and 120, the browser sends something that should be in the JSON format. Now let's move to the server, app.post. This route receives the data sent by the client. Now look at console.log request body. Since we used express.json, the JSON sent by the client is automatically converted to a JavaScript object. So request.body contains Apple and 120 within the flower brackets, that is name : Apple, price : 120. The server prints this object on the terminal. Finally, response.json message received sends a JSON response back to the client. Now come back to the fetch API. Then r.json. Here r represents the response object received from the server. r.json converts into a JavaScript object. Next, .then is a promise. Here d contains the actual JSON data. Since d.message contains received, the browser displays received inside this paragraph. Now let's run the program. Terminal is already open. Just type node server.js. So this application is running on this port localhost 3000. You can just control click and you have the output here. You just need to send the fruit name, that is apple, and price, and just click the send button. Whenever we click this send button, all the data which will be fetched through the web browser and it will be converted to a JSON object, and that will be displayed in the terminal. Notice that the web page does not refresh. Instead, the browser displays received. Now switch to the terminal. This confirms that the client has successfully sent the data to the Node.js server using AJAX. Now we learned what AJAX is, what the fetch API is, how client-server communication works, how Express middleware processes JSON, how request.body stores client data, and finally how the server sends a response back to the browser. That's all for this experiment. In the next video, we'll develop a simple authentication mechanism using email ID and password with HTML and Express.js using the post method. If you found this video helpful, please like the video, share it with your classmates, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next experiment.